All right. Hey, criminology class. Sorry, this is a little weird there. There we go. All right. Hey, I hope you guys are doing well. I don't think I've done one of these for you guys yet. But I wanted to, I'm actually going to give you a couple of videos. But I wanted to touch base with you a little bit via video from me, kind of about where we are in the course and course material in this section. So this section is your chapter 5 and 6, which, deals with several things, but and just so you know, I've got your book right here. So that's what I'm looking at to remind me of what's in which chapter. So chapter 5 looks at your biological and psychological kind of explanations for crime. But chapter 6, so this is where it gets a little bit confusing. So chapter 6, I should not have done it this way. Okay. Well, chapter 6 talks about the social and cultural aspects of society. And now I just realized what I did. So we're going to go with it because I have to go with it. But I want you to know that for your techniques of neutralization that you're going to do in this section, I need you to jump ahead to chapter 7, which is next chapter. And I'm not really sure why I did. Oh, I see why I did what I did. Okay. So make sure in this module, you guys are in module 3, make sure that when you get to the techniques of neutralization, that you jump to chapter 7. I'm in your textbook. There's a list on page 159, but the discussion about it goes from page 154 up through 159. Not really sure why I did this way. I apologize. I'm not really sure why I threw this in here. I really should have waited till chapter 7, which is the next module. But I think I'm looking at this screen over here with your class. I think what I was thinking is that the next section has a lot in it, so I bumped it back to this one. Anyway, I don't know. Sorry about that. So I don't mean to be confusing. I'll post an announcement about it as well. But you have 2 things in here. So you have a video and then you have an assignment, both involving techniques of neutralization. So look ahead in your textbook, starting on page 154, where it talks about techniques of neutralization. But that's what I want to talk about for just a minute here, is what those are. So when you think about techniques of neutralization and what they are, think about it as it's the way that someone breaking a law, being deviant, whatever it is, the way someone justifies their behavior. That's what we're really talking about. It's the techniques that they use to justify why they did what they did. And you have an assignment this module that talks about cheating. Now, don't panic. On that assignment, it's okay, be honest. Don't be honest if you cheated in my class, but be honest about it if you've seen it or whatever. But so I kind of wanted to just talk to you a little bit about what techniques are and what they mean. So your textbook talks about 5 of the big ones, and then it gives you a list of other ones. So the big ones are denial of responsibility, denial of injury, denial of the victim, condemnation of the condemners, and appeal to higher authorities or higher loyalties. Those are the kind of the big 5, if you want to think about it that way. But then there are other ones. There's defense of necessity, defense of ledger, denial of justice, claim that everybody's doing it, and then claim of entitlement. They're techniques, but they're not as what I would consider central to this whole idea. So really what I want you to focus on is the first 5. And again, they're listed on page 159 in your textbook. And it's the first 5. So denial of responsibility, denial of injury, denial of the victim, condemnation of the condemners, and then appeal to higher loyalties. So let's talk about what those are. Denial of the responsibility. I didn't do it. That's really what it is. It's always somebody else's fault. They don't ever take responsibility for what they did. It's denial of responsibility. You may have run into this maybe with people that You know, maybe you run into people like this at school that, you know, they failed the test, but it's not their fault, it's the teacher's fault or whatever. Or maybe you've even said something like that. Maybe. So denial of responsibility. But with crime, it's that, you know, they talk about it from the perspective of, you know, there's always some other reason why they did this. Well, if I wouldn't have gotten fired, I wouldn't have had to steal the food or whatever. I'm trying to see what your textbook. Oh, right, because it also talks in your book about things that are beyond their control. So, you know, I grew up in a house where, you know, no one worked, or we never had money, or this or that. And that's the justification for why they did what they did. So denial of responsibility, denial of injury. Well, no one was hurt, so it's okay. And that's exactly what it talks about on page 155. It says, the second technique is the denial of injury, the claim by offenders that no one was hurt by their actions, even if they technically violate the law. So it says people who violate the law are less sensitive than non-offenders to the effects of their behavior on the victims. So that's what we're looking at. Then you go, so now I'm going to flip to the next page in your book. I'm going to go, it's on page 156 in your book. Then denial of the victim. So it's denial of injury. No one was hurt, but then denial of the victim, that the crime was justifiable. This doesn't, sometimes people get denial of injury and denial of victim confused. Denial of injury, no one got hurt, so it's not, you know, it's not a big deal. Where denial of the victim, oh, maybe there was a crime that was committed. Maybe somebody killed another person, but that person killed another person. So you see it as justifiable. Or maybe it was that somebody went after a hate group, and that hate group, you know, always is obviously hating on people, so it's okay. Or that person has a long record, so it's okay if they got hurt or they were killed or whatever. It says offenders often define their victims as the wrongdoers. So you'll also find with this that unfortunately in like cases of rape or domestic violence, well, the victim asked for it. Even not, you know, hey, if they wouldn't have gotten in my face, I wouldn't have done this. So denial of the victim. Condemnation of the condemners is this belief that those that are condemning the behavior are the problem. So it says the assertion that it's motives and behaviors of the people who are condemning the offender rather than the motives of the offender should be condemned. Offenders have said things like police brutality. We're not going there. I'm not justifying police brutality, not at all. Or political corruption is justifiable for their crimes. Don't go there with that. I am not saying that police brutality is okay. But from the other side, somebody that might get caught participating in a crime might try to say, well, you know what, it's ridiculous, all the police are bad, so I'm justified in what I'm doing. Again, please don't think that I'm saying that anything is okay. It's not. It's about how someone tries to justify their crime. Okay, that's really what it's talking about. And then appeal to higher loyalties. So again, this is an attempt to justify the violation of the law by the demands of the group, such as the juvenile gang, or, you know, well, we have to retaliate against this person because this person did something to our group, so now we need to do something back. Those kinds of things. It appeal to higher loyalties usually is about the sense of group, the sense of the loyalty to a group. It can also be, you know, something that you'll see crimes that we'll talk about that the person was told to do it by somebody else. Okay, and then you've got these other ones. So it talks on page 159 about the others. So then again, defense of necessity, ledger, denial of justice, the claim that everybody's doing it, and the claim of entitlement. So again, you might take something like cheating. Well, who cares? Everybody does it. Or using drugs. Well, who cares? Everybody does it. Or drinking underage. You know, who cares? Everybody does it. Kind of a thing. So I really focus on the first 5. Don't worry so much about the last 5. Again, they're listed on page 159, techniques of neutralization. So really just think about when you're doing this, that it is the way in which a criminal or an offender justifies their behavior. That's what we're talking about. So again, I apologize for the confusion as to putting this stuff in chapter 6, but the techniques really are talked about specifically in chapter 7. So I will post an announcement about it, but just wanted to make sure that I touch base with you guys a little bit about this topic. And that is all. Thanks for watching. Email me if you have any questions.